The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hold to the one and despise the other. Well, we messed that up. For either he will hate the one and despise the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Who wrote this? Ye cannot serve God and mammon, money. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than the meat, and the body than raiment? Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns. Yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they? Which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit unto his stature? Well, Jack Talcott's trying. And why take ye thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Therefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven. That sounds like something I was talking about on a recent stream. Shall he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? Therefore, take no thought, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or wherewithal shall we be clothed? And then in parentheses, for after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Interesting. And then here's something I wrote. The simple fact of the matter is that all systems of man, including religion, are corrupt and demonized. If I am directly connected to the Most High and Jesus Christ, why do I need religion? If anything, it would seem that religion needs me. But I will never corrupt myself spiritually in order to be accepted by religious people or religious organizations. The Most High is the authority and the source and the judge. Love, by the way, that's love, the most super intelligent force of love possible. Not man. Outside of Jesus and his disciples, what evidence is there of any of man's systems, including religion, bearing fruit that honors the most super intelligent force of love possible in the long term? I see no evidence that humanity collectively is capable of such a thing, and will not believe it unless I see it. My direct experiential knowledge and my continuously renewing belief, or in this case, experience, is that the most super intelligent force of love is real and has been guiding and protecting me for my entire life. And I have been and will continue to be provided for, just like the gospel says. In the final analysis, no man can claim authority over me or intercede on my behalf. If and when I return to the most super intelligent force of love at the end of this earthly life. Salvation is not a team sport. And if my suspicions prove correct, It will be a narrow path through a straight gate indeed. For me, true fulfillment of purpose is only to be experienced in those moments when I am emptied of myself and the most super intelligent force of love possible enters in. Yes. And the word of that force is uttered with my tongue. And after the message of the most super intelligent force of love possible leaves my lips, what happens after that is the most super intelligent force of love's business. How can I possibly have knowledge of the plans of the most super intelligent force of love before those plans are made manifest? How about that? Well, since we're on the roll, this will be the last reading. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. And just substitute the most super intelligent force of love possible for he in this case. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, also known as this place, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the most super intelligent force of love possible forever. All right. Love that. I guess there's no vertical stream option. And I know as much as folks are not fans of the vertical streams, the fact of the matter is, I looked at our numbers on YouTube, and the reach last week was 800 and something people. Usually it's closer to 300, so that's pretty cool. Shout out to the chat. Chalk Body Outline was, he was live earlier, so maybe he's still live. I don't know. I gifted him 50.99 subs, but I'm looking back on it. They charge tax on the gifted subs and the memberships, but no tax on the super chats. So probably I could have just super chatted $50 in retrospect, but oh well. It's kind of fun seeing all the names of the people that were gifted the membership pop up on the screen. Well, our 34-hour restart is nearly completed, so new hours on the clock here. We got our full 70. This will be a quick one, unless I continue it while I'm driving anyway. Can we get this? Hang on. Trying to get the lighting correct here. Might not be able to. Is that better? Not really. Kind of, sort of. Turn that dome light off. There we go. Yep. Did my shopping yesterday. That was quite spin. Some of what I just read there, those Bible passages, reminded me of that I'm way less concerned and worried about all this talk of economy and inflation and prices and tariffs, right? I think maybe I got to pay more money, Bex, for the vertical stream. I think it's not at this level. I think they want more loot, because it used to be there when I had the 1 year prepaid subscription. There was an option for vertical stream when you create the stream. It's not there now, so I'm thinking maybe they want even more money. But anyway, back to what I was saying. And ultimately, that's, as the spiritual attacks continue, by the way, spiritually attacked in my sleep. I won't get into the details of that, but pleasant/unpleasant, certainly, to some extent. Right. But I don't know. Again, I'm not going to talk details, but yeah. It's a thing, certainly. But if I feel like I have the bandwidth to spare, the data to spare, I will do some more vertical streams here and there, I'm sure. So look for that. I just couldn't muster up the energy to live stream yesterday on my break. I just chilled out in the truck, walked around the lot here. It's big enough to actually get a little bit of a exercise. Nothing too crazy, just a lap or two. And stocked up on food. Walmart there in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. Gave what was probably a local homeless person, although maybe she sleeps indoors somewhere, but some local person in poverty gave her $20 in the parking lot. I was looking for somebody to give money to, and she didn't just come up with, "Hey, you got any money," or whatever they say. But she tried to sell me some track phone minutes first. Then she got around to just wanting to get something to eat, so gave her 20. So that was a blessing. I was looking for somebody to pay it forward to, right? Sometimes I see these people flying signs, but I'm not able to. It's not practical to stop the rig and jump out, One thing I was thinking about is these APUs on these trucks. Mine does not have one. These auxiliary power units. I got out of the truck earlier, and it was just fumes, nothing but fumes from the APU of the truck next to me. Once they fall into disrepair, or maybe the filter, who knows? I don't know. Well, something needs to be adjusted, and just fumes, man. So under the wrong circumstances, those fumes would be just going directly into my cab while I sleep, right? So I'd like to think things are not like this in Europe with Razvan driving around over there. I'd like to think not. America is quite the barbaric place, as we see with all of these news items, certainly. Trying to decide what time to start my clock. The company, I like the dispatch because they've already figuring me out. They know I like to start out as early as possible. And last night, right before I went to sleep, they told me not to start my day too early. Because even though they haven't given me my next load information yet, which they may not have, or they may have options, they said, do not start too early. Next pickup is not before 9 a.m. But I can drop, where I'm dropping at is 24 hours, so they know I can get in there and drop. So, but then I have to drop the load by 10 a.m. So I'm trying to time all of this out. And then GPS says I will, if I left right now, I would get there at right at 8 o'clock, and then I need to add about 20 minutes for fuel, so it's 8:20. Maybe wait till 3:30. Although I don't know, man. That's a good question. It's a good question. Close enough to Louisville, I'm not going to hit the rush hour traffic there. So just the things that truckers think about, right? Trucker thoughts. But yeah, it's been interesting a couple of days after, whatever these recent epiphanies have been. And well, really, it's a leveling up, right? I've leveled up into a space where, this direct knowledge, right, of the nature of the realm, but not just intellectually, mind, body, and spirit. So when I talk about it leveling up the understanding, that's what I specifically mean is all three in alignment, mind, body, and spirit, leveling up into a new understanding, right? And if the ability to practice remains sufficient, and that's what the spiritual attacks are about, right? Is an attempt to see if I can be tempted or cajoled or somehow incentivized into going back down into the depths of my own energies, within my own sphere of influence, via the chakra system, if the one is willing to believe in those, or accept rather those concepts. So an attempt to direct my focus down to the lower chakras. for the purposes of sense enjoyment, right? But the consciousness is not going to remain there, certainly. But I'm seeing now, as long as I'm able to continue practicing as I have, and it's certainly the practices, the various practices, as well as the will and the law of the most super intelligent force of love possible, right? That have enabled me to get to this place. And it's not that and here's another practice is staying here in this understanding and on this level without backsliding into lower levels, but realizing and knowing that any attempt to grasp and hang on to uh, this new level of understanding actually causes it to flee, right? It is fleeting, and I have no guarantee that it will remain. If that makes sense. If I were to think about it as something that came to me when it's an ascension, right? It's certainly an ascension, ascending these layers, right? Layers here in the layer LAIR of the enemy, right? And anybody that's not willing to accept that this is spiritual warfare down here, I don't know what to tell them. It seems to me like the goal of this place, or more correctly, the goal of this realm, and the one who, whether that's a being, it's just easier to think of it as a being. Like, I guess people approach the most super intelligent force of love possible that way. Well, let's call it a sky daddy or a heavenly father, call it a he, right? Same thing with the epitome of evil, the lowest depths of evil, death, and destruction possible, right? And it seems to me like this realm is all about sending my essence, right? Sending my essence here, and my essence being one with the most super intelligent force of love possible. And that's what some other content creators are referring to when they talk about we are all one on the highest level possible. Well, we're not all one, right? Meaning, and we in this case, meaning individual humans, especially the ones that are in this so-called truth community that go to these channels like mine and others. That does not then create a body, right? That is all in accord and in alignment and vibrating together at the highest level possible. Now, what I'm referring to, could it form a body that's vibrating at a similar level? Yes, right. And if that's the case, and if I was vibrating at a similar level, number one, I'm always seeking to vibrate at a higher level, cheer the level up. And then seems to me like, at least for now, I've vibrated right up out of that so-called community, right? Seems to me like that's what's happening. Yippee skippy yay for bit. So when certain folks say we are all one at the highest level, no, it's not true. And as soon as I heard that, the first few times my spidey sense went off. My intuition was like, that don't sound right to me. And then, this is my own lack of IQ and my own super high functioning retardation, which is probably a blessing, right? And it's all blessings. It's all blessings, certainly. This death will be a blessing, right? The passing away, the being able to leave this place, hopefully not to return, right? Because if my essence is seemingly splintered off, right, from the most super intelligent force of love possible, and that would be the simulation or the delusion, or the dual nature of the realm, to take something that's actually indivisible and cannot be divided into parts, the most super intelligent force of love possible. God is one, God is love, all of this. But to divide a portion of what seems to be a portion of that, and then have it incarnate, right, into this physical form, You know, death will be a blessing, because what's that going to be? That's going to be a return to what? True, direct, full-time experience of my true essence and nature, which is the most super intelligent force of love possible, right? Which is the only thing that cannot be killed here. It's the only thing that won't die here. So Trump's tariffs are dead. See, Trump's dead. The government is dead, right? Render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Caesar's dead, right? What belongs to Caesar is dead. And this is a bit of a repeat of a recent string. Okay. So the economy's dead. Uh, you know, the food is dead. Now, is it, not entirely, metaphorically, now some of the food is dead. The food is dead and cooked and then goes into the body. And I found less and less, I'm certainly consuming dead food, but I'm also have been consuming more food that's alive, at least, maybe not fully dead. Maybe there's some life in it, right? And I'll probably have a can of sardines later. And, that's dead, physically dead, technically. But the egg yolks, right, still alive to some extent. Although does the pasteurization kill them? See, I don't know. Maybe they are dead. Uh, are the jarred apricots dead, or are they alive? But I think you understand what I mean. I think you do. It's also interesting how the fasting. I eat every day, but the calories are so low at times. It's medically would be referred to as semi-starvation, right? So it does function as a form of fasting. Uh, and really that's one of the few spiritual practices that I had never undertaken over a long period of time, right? And now we're there. So that's helpful. And again, if other people, don't have any desire to do these practices to perform, what I'm speaking on, but took me, I started all of this like almost 20 years ago now. How old am I? I'm almost 50. So yeah, I was 30 20 years ago. So close to 20 years ago, I began all of these daily practices. Now, the early stages was daily study, not of the Bible, by the way, daily study of various, texts and scripture and all of this. And in typical fashion, right, for many folks, I started with the Eastern stuff, but not the Bible, because the Bible's Eastern, if we think about it. And eventually, over a period of many years, came to understand that I was inhabited by a wicked spirit, unclean spirits, demonic spirits. And believe it or not, some of them were evicted not using Christ and the name of Jesus and the Bible. It was used. They were evicted using specific verses from the Quran, right? But that was in my experience, that was some of the weaker ones. The stronger ones all went out invoking, the name of Jesus, and then this is a spell, right? Spell casting, magic. Wouldn't that be magic? When a wicked spirit, a demonic spirit, an unclean spirit inhabits the sphere of influence, my energy sphere, because of my incorrect action, making it legally possible at the level of legalese. Wouldn't it require spell casting and magic to evict such entities? Right? That makes sense to me. Not that I'm a magician, but why is that a bad way to approach things? Because the fear, right? The Christian fear's dead. The Christian fear, see. Well, fear is dead. How can I fear performing what could be, termed magic and spellcasting when I know for a fact that such magic and spellcasting is consistent with my essence and nature, right? And my ownership of my energy sphere because of the dual nature. And again, the delusion, really, the the dream or the imagined reality that what I am is somehow separated from God, which is, correctly speaking, the most super intelligent force of love possible. Right? Whatever that delusion is that I was born into for whatever reason. And this is where people get into blaming God. And that is one of the, in my opinion, one of the drawbacks of referring to the most super intelligent force of love as if it's a human person, right? With a gender, with a dick and balls, a heavenly father, a sky daddy looking down on us all, right? Well, let's blame the most super intelligent force of love for our plight. Does that make any sense? Doesn't make any sense to me, right? I blame the death and destruction for my plight, right? But see, there is no plight. The plight is dead, right? The plight is dead. Everything that is not identified with the most super intelligent force of love possible stays here, right? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and let the dead bury the dead. See, this realm is keeping all of the death and destruction. See? So when my essence leaves here after physical death, and presumably, I can't know for sure, to return to source, right? The larger force, the limitless force of super intelligent love beyond all of this, right? That, beyond time, that can't be encased, right? It can't be put into a container, as I spit all over the stream. It can't be containerized. Hang on. Hang on. About to start the clock here. Yeah, about 3:20. So that's why religion is dead. Religion is demonic, right? Uh, all right, we're back. My apologies. I think that was that might be my monthly service restarting. It completely dropped me off my phone, and went into airplane mode, and then it came back. So it's a blessing. Again, it's all blessings, but I'm excited. Excited may not be the right term, but it's interesting and novel, right? At least for me at this time, to be able to go into these new experiences, based on the new to me understanding of my true nature, the nature of God, the nature of this realm. Uh, and let's face the reality. So when we talk about people blaming God, and that is the most super intelligent force of love possible, and then the Bible talking about everybody that hates God loves death. So the fact is, when I see my fellow humans, is there that so-called spark of divinity, right? I don't know. Is it possible that the being falls far enough that there's effectively, maybe there is that their essence is still the most super intelligent force of love possible, but it's been so so buried and encased in worry and strife and struggle and you know so-called sin and evil doing, iniquities of that stretch beyond all imagination. So the fact is, yes, I'm going to treat people well. However, realistically, most of the folks I'm interacting with are closer to death than closer to life, if you ask me. Closer to death than closer to life. Because to be close to this place, right? To be close to Trump, to be close to the tariffs, to be close to memes about politics, right? To be close to my paycheck, right? To be close to my family, sadly, because my family certainly is not living um, based on an apprehension and knowledge and experience of the highest form of love possible, right? The most super intelligent force of love possible. My family is not operating based on that, and I haven't operated towards them based on that. Not fully. We have in certain ways. And I'm not a victim of that. See, there's no resentment. The most super intelligent force of love possible it's not capable of resentments, right? Not capable of death. In fact, not capable of creating this place, I would say, arguably. So then how did we get here? You know, well, blame God for it. Blame the most super intelligent force of love possible. How about I blame the antithesis of the most super intelligent force of love possible? Because how can the most super intelligent force of love possible exist without an antithesis, right? Wouldn't the antithesis of the most super intelligent force of love possible necessarily exist? Wouldn't? I don't know. Seems like it would logically. What's up, Razvan? Good to see you, sir. Good to see you. That was fun gifting those memberships. Yeah, flexing the paycheck indeed, Razvan. Now, what did I come back here for? I've already forgot. Oh, yeah, I need to clean my glasses off before I start my day. Just finishing up my 34-hour restart, Razvan. And nobody teaches us this as truck drivers in America, anyway. Although before you got here, I was commenting on how the trucker next to me, his APU is in such a sad state of disrepair that these noxious fumes are right outside my door of my truck, and under the right circumstances would enter my truck while I'm sleeping. Barbarians. Americans are barbarians, and proud of it. Americans are proud to be barbarians, most of them, and I used to be that way. But I don't think I'm proud of it quite so much. Wipe the old glasses off here. Forgot to take my soap into the truck stop. I hate using their soap, so I need to wash my hands. So I need to rinse my eyes out, really, but maybe we'll do that at the fuel stop if I can remember. If I can remember. Got my laundry did. Went to Walmart. Got most of my shopping done. Of course, I forgot a couple of things. Yeah. Oh yeah. Good rest, Razvan. Yeah. Good. Very good rest. Yeah. Yeah. I might start taking more 34s. I used to always run on recaps, but I'm realizing now that I can do, you know, is it, I guess, 5 days, 6 days, seven, whatever it ends up being, however many days it takes to restart. 5.5, I guess. I don't know. However the math works out on that. Yeah. Yeah. 6 days. Then take a full rest because during those 6 days, my body doesn't fully rest. And if something happens and I accidentally get like 8 hours of sleep, I feel worse. If that makes sense. It's like my body goes into some kind of rest state. I don't even know if I'm making sense, but I know what I mean. I hear me. All right, let's turn this back off. And then just thinking about, the truck is dead, right? The truck's a dead thing. The AC and the sleepers already quit working. I have the worst luck with. I'm fortunate and blessed, but for some reason, air conditioners don't like to work around me. The one in the front still works, but the one in the back, no worky. This truck is the first truck I've ever driven that has an automatic system to keep all of the tires aired up, the front tires, and then the all the tires on the drive axles. It doesn't work, right? The controller box or whatever is on the fritz. Um, they told me they just had this truck in the shop for a bunch of work, but I guess and the bunk heater doesn't work. It needs to be rebuilt. It blows air, but it won't. The flame won't come on. No flame detected. And it kind of shows you just people are mailing it in and not fully doing their jobs correctly. But then if their job is dead, right? If what we think of as economy is dead and business is dead, and none of this is in the final analysis, none of it's going to amount to a hill of beans. I mean, can you blame them, right? What year is it? I don't know. It's got 370,000 miles on it, I think, or 366 or something. I think it had 360 when I got it. I don't know. 369 right now. There's your 369. 369 644. But I don't even know what year it is. I'm guessing I don't know, actually. Probably 2022, just guessing. But yeah. I guess we'll keep the stream going once I pull out. Oh, and it's supposed to get down to 27 degrees this morning, below freezing. So what the fuck is this? First everything floods, now it's freezing. It won't be cold enough to freeze, the waters, but shit's crazy, man. New cars and trucks are shit, he says. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have to agree. I like some of the designs, but even that International that I had on my last job, at 2024, brand new, the fucking air conditioner in the truck, it had an APU and the AC worked on the APU. Dude, the fucking factory air conditioning for the truck never worked from day one, ever. And then it went back in the shop. They fixed it. It worked for 2 days and went out. Put it back in the shop. They fixed it. It worked for 2 days and went out again, which leads me to believe eventually they're just going to replace the whole fucking system under warranty, right? But by then I was already quitting anyway. But yeah. Most def. There's a company that I know of, unless they've changed their policies, uh, they let the driver work basically how they all it's all slip seating. So there's no assigned trucks. So it's all sleeper trucks, long haul, but they slip seat. And the benefit of that is, number one, if there's some kind of problem with the truck, when I get out of it, all I got to do is park it at the terminal, write up what's wrong with it, and then just get in a different truck. Number one, that'd be nice. Number two, I'm pretty sure it's all Volvos, which I do like the Volvos. Number three, uh, unless they've changed their policy, I could work in a month and then just not work for 3 weeks if I wanted to. And a lot of companies, it's you work a week and you get a day of home time. So, I've worked 6 months at a time, which hypothetically I could just take 3 weeks off. But what they're going to say to me is, oh, that's fine, but we're going to reassign your truck, right? And I might want to keep my truck. So in this case, all the trucks are effectively the same, and you just got to make sure and find one doesn't have a bunch of problems. inspect it properly. So I'm thinking about maybe doing that. Oh, dude, absolutely. He says, Razvan says pandemic builds are so low quality control. There's so many things that I run into now where I'm like, this had to have been produced during the fake pandemic. Like it had to have been. There's no other way. Just like that truck. I bet that's why that AC never works. Probably built during the pandemic. Yeah. Because no, best of circumstances, people don't really give a fuck. But the pandemic, that was all new levels and not giving a fuck. Certainly. Sweetly. All right, we're starting the clock. I've waited as long as I can wait. Add remark. Excuse me, pre-trip inspection. Now I got to go to my DVIR. I forgot it the other day, but then I remembered later on. But I got to make sure and do that first thing in the morning. I'm going to start my clock. Save the drive. Certify. Where's the trailer? Trailer. Pre-trip. Save the drive. Bam. 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 Mm. Kind of want another cup of coffee. Wonder if maybe I'm going to run in there and get one. Maybe. And why does this happen? My Amazon Prime got charged, so it was time to pay for my Amazon Prime on autopay. And for some reason, it used my card that has no money on it. And then, as we know, they want to charge me a fee, so instead of declining it as they should have, they intentionally allow it to bounce, right? And so they can charge me a fee. And that is partially my fault. I should have went in on Amazon and deleted that card, but I'm hypothetical. I still use it sometimes. Actually, there was never a reason to delete it. Now that I think about it, uh, that's right. 2014 Jag going strong, no issues. Yeah, my 2012 Versa, other than just basic wear and tear, it's kicking ass. Uh, it got me from LA to the terminal with my new company for $120 in gas. Now, some of that's my own driving, ability to drive, 60 or 65 for long distances. But yeah, looking forward to getting a detail. That interior is fucking disgusting after living in it for so long, and not realistically having a way to clean it. Not without, it's really in LA. There's really nowhere to go to just take everything out of the car and then scrub a dub. Probably go to a hotel, take everything out of the car, and then take enough time off and drop it off with somebody. Have the interior detailed, and then um, the other ball joint needs replaced. I knew to replace both those ball joints, and I cheaped out and just did one, even though I had the money at the time. That was a mistake, certainly. And, yeah, we're getting more coffee. Caffeine addiction intensifies, but I guess I can take you all in there. I guess I can take you with me. Although I'll end up doxing my company, so I'll take you in. I'll have to go in there audio only because I lack the ability to just remember not to show the door of my truck with the name of the company on it. Just not able to do that for whatever reason. right. It's name on the doxing game. Can I remember to turn the camera off before I leave the truck stop? That's the question. If I can manage that, we'll be doing good. The lady working the counter is chilling, and I said, "I'm just getting coffee if you want to keep chilling." But I'm not trying to get free coffee, but she was like, "Have a nice day." I said, all right, but I might have to pay this time. Probably will. Why doesn't have StreamYard have a button to switch to the back camera like YouTube does? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I don't get it. Coffee time. This music's terrible. Oh yeah, ginseng. Where are the fluid sticks? Fluid sticks. Straws. Straws. Excuse me. Razvan's got a full load of solar panels from China. Fresh off the boat in Felixstowe, he says. All right, turn the camera on. Solar panels. I got to remember to just start tipping these people. I should just left $5 on the counter and just left. But as it were, there was the woman that I know works there. She had her phone, her head buried in her phone, sitting off to the side. And then there was another woman who might work there. And she had her head was buried in her phone. So I just used my best judgment, looked around, and fucking left with the coffee. I reused my cup though, but either way, hypothetically, I'm supposed to pay. Am I on the wrong road? Yeah, I'm on the wrong road. You're on the wrong road, partner. I'm gonna check the fifth wheel, make sure the jaw is correctly locked around the kingpin, which I checked it yesterday, but check it again. And then we're gonna hit the road, Jack. Hell's my truck. Oh, there it is. Just a moment. Watching TikTok. I think she was texting. Yeah, you know. Maybe she was posting a comment on the TikTok video, perhaps. Yep. Fifth wheel's good. Good there. Uh-oh. Yeah, leaving without paying like that reminds me one time in Austin when I was going to truck driving school and staying at the Salvation Army and working at the airport. My days were quite busy, and you can imagine it. And I took the bus 45 minutes each way to get to work. By the way, that's if there was everything went properly. And so I'd go to Walgreens, and I was going to Walgreens and buying a water, like a gallon of water, downtown right before I got on the bus. It was the only place that I could get the water, man. And it was South by Southwest, which is that big festival in Austin. And some doofus was down there at the last minute buying every fucking individual orange juice that was available in the store. And, the clerk trying to figure all that out. And I just stood there and I said, well, I'm said to myself, there's 0% chance of me getting through this line and getting on the bus. And then I thought to myself, if I just leave with this, what will happen? And the answer was absolutely nothing. So I just left. It's like, yeah, I'm not trying to steal it. I've got the money, but see it. We out. We out at 5,000 G. Nobody even noticed. And then, I'm more than willing to come back the next time and pay. Just charge me for two of these because now I'm trying to explain something that's not even going to make sense. Like what? You did what? Yeah, motherfucker, I did. What you gonna do about it? Call the police? Some of these places probably would call the police over a cup of coffee. What you think? Where's my water? That's what I think. Oh yeah. Wait a minute. And, call of nature here before we leave. Where the fuck is my water, man? That's one thing about living in a truck, dude. I lose everything. Everything is lost somehow on a daily basis, and then found again. How's that possible? I got my trash can. I was using an old box, an old Amazon box before that. Some new toothpaste. You doing good, Jack? All right. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I thought about having me a beer, and I looked at what they had at Walmart for the singles. And if they would have had a Negro Modelo, I might have went for it, but they just had regular Modelo. That is kind of strange for a Walmart not to have a Negro Modelo, because I don't know if y'all know this. Regular Modelo is the best-selling beer in the country now, because after all that Bud Light foolishness. And what I always said about the Bud Light stuff was that it's actually Anheuser-Busch is going to make more money in the long run, because they got all this. They've come out with so many new products, and a lot of the Bud Light drinkers, in my opinion, are just going to try out some of those other products. And some of those newfangled other products will probably have a way higher profit margin. Just my opinion. So, yeah, I'm certain these MBAs, Masters of Business Administration, have figured out that, yeah, we'll lose a certain number of people will just go to Miller Lite or whatever. But then a lot of these folks are going to end up buying other InBev, I think is the company. But then there's another company that owns InBev. But yeah, they'll just go buy a different Anheuser-Busch product. And, we predict that some percentage of those, are going to go into our newer products that have way higher profit margins. So, because I don't think it's possible for a company like Bud Light to just accidentally hire a Dylan Mulvaney, who I was never familiar with, but I saw who are these podcasts were, making fun of Dylan Mulvaney's podcast. And I was like, oh, this person's just a complete moron, right? Like vacuous. People like to use the term vapid. I think vacuous is actually more appropriate. But either way, as it may be. Bam. Bam. Oh man. I could tell I had a little too much sugar yesterday. When I have too much sugar, I start peeing on myself. As a 50-year-old man. Not too bad though. There was leakage. Oh, wait a minute. Where's my fanny pack? Don't fear the fanny pack. The fanny pack ain't dead. Well, maybe it is technically. I don't know. All right, let's go to Ohio. What do y'all think? You want to go to Ohio? Well, yeah, that's right. Bud Light was part of the old USA. By the way, back when I was still drinking myself to death, I was getting 30 packs of Budweiser at a certain point. I like fucking Bud Heavy's not a bad beer. I'm trying to think. I like Coors Original, the Banquet. That's probably my favorite, just regular beer. Just favorite regular American beer. But it wasn't on special at the time. All right, we got to get out of here before somebody comes and blocks us in. Oh, wait a minute. Give me just a second. Let's get the GPS going. So we know where we're going. 110 miles to the fuel stop. And this company, there's certain states that they tell us not to fuel in. So this will be my last fuel stop before I get to Ohio. Yeah, no fueling in Ohio. On account of the fuel prices. But then there's also a federal tax called IFTA, which also factors in. So I don't know, maybe that's part of their calculation as well. I'm not exactly sure. IFTA. Damn, that fool pulled up and dropped the trailer, and it's not even in a spot. So I'm guessing another driver's coming for that thing. I don't know. That's weird. I don't see that too often. They got signs up: drop trailers will be towed. In my experience, it takes them a while to do anything like that. For a trailer that's parked, dropped on the lot. 'Cause I was gone for damn near 2 hours yesterday and bought 72 eggs, 4 days worth of eggs, $33. Not too bad. I was definitely what's up, DWS? Yeah, one of the I enjoyed my time in Los Angeles, but one of the things I like about leaving is paying way less for eggs. Certainly. Mexican beer. I like Modelo, but like I say, I prefer the darker version or the amber, whatever they call it, the negro or negro Modelo. The regular Modelo is a good beer. I enjoy it. I like Coors, the Banquet. I like regular Michelob. I used to drink that Amberbach, but something happened to my palate. Eventually, I started to realize that it's actually not very good beer. Something's off about it. Of course, Guinness Extra Stout. If we're talking about going to the store and buying it, not the draft, the Guinness Extra Stout. Now going to the pint, you know, going to the pub for a pint, obviously way better. But so there's that. All right. Well, I'm still cheaping out, and actually, I looked at phone mounts at the Petro there, but there's a specific brand that I'm particular to, and they did not have it. Forget the brand, but I know it when I see it. East on 222. This is a state highway 222, apparently. Yeah, I'm in egg heaven. That's right. Well, the availability, there have been a couple of times I've gone into a Walmart and they were damn near out of eggs. And again, I go to Walmart primarily because it's difficult to access other grocery stores. Although technically, I could have gone to Kroger yesterday. But yeah, I'm from Arkansas. What do you want me to say? I love the Supercenter. Am I a person of Walmart? People of Walmart. Oh, I do like cherry wheat, Samuel Adams, DWS. I like some of the Samuel Adams. I've never had the cherry wheat. Um, yes, regular Sam Adams is a good beer, obviously, and I can't even remember all the different flavors I've tried, but I do like Shiner Bock, Texas beer. I think it's a little overpriced for what it is, though. The value's not really there. Back in the day, they had a Hefeweizen I used to drink a lot of, but that was right after that was the tail end of me and ex-wife number two's marriage. I got to drinking the Shiner Hefeweizen. Yeah, egg heaven. Oh, did I miss? I missed the fucking on ramp like a doofus. Yeah, talking to y'all, missed the damn on ramp. Now I got to go in here and make a U-turn. Actually, I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna do this right here. I'm gonna make a U-turn right here since it's 3 in the morning. Sure did miss that on ramp though. Just got to be real careful that nobody comes behind me. But I managed to pull off a pretty decent number of U-turns. I did one in traffic in Buffalo, New York one time, which was pretty wild, but I made it happen. I drove right past the fucking on-ramp. I blame the GPS for that, though. The GPS steered me wrong on that one. This they've redone this entire exit, and my GPS is still going by what the roads used to be instead of what they are now. I still should have seen it though, of course. The problem with my GPS is it's so good that I tend to trust it a little too much sometimes. Yeah, it told me to keep going because I see now, because it said 110 miles when we left the truck stop. Now it says 106. So it wanted me to go to keep straight for some reason. Woo! Running off the road. Running off the road. All right, I got to put this phone somewhere. I got to put this phone somewhere. There we go. But yeah, I hate to be critical, but it seems like every time I see Drew and EBT, they're all, it's all Trump stuff and Trump memes and hating on the libs, which I don't have a problem with that. The libs, they're dead. The lefties. I'm still on record though. There's nothing wrong with actual liberals because, the problem with all of this MAGA and Republican and Democrat is, Democrats being so horrible and failed and flawed and ridiculous. That does not then confer all of the opposite traits onto Republicans. So the problem I have is where all of the criticism goes towards Democrats, but then that somehow ends up in, well, since they're so terrible, there's only one option, which is Team Trump, Team MAGA, Team Conservative, Team Republican. I'm like, no, absolutely not. That's also failure. It's Republicans and Democrats that work together in service of the banks and corporations, uh, to create the business environment, the corporate environment, the financial environment in America, right? It's not that the Democrats are so fucking awesome at politics that the Republicans want to make everything perfect, but they're just not able to because of the skill of the Democrats. Well, if the Democrats were so skilled, why wouldn't they just be in power all the time, right? Like what even is this? What even is this? So I guess that's really what annoys me is it's ultimately the idea, this, what seems to be the idea that, if not for these Democrats, then all of these things that the Republicans claim to stand for would come to pass. And it's like, absolutely not. The Republicans work with the Democrats to further the agenda of the banks and corporations, full stop. Right. That's what this is. And then I understand, before I came to my recent understanding of the nature of the realm and the nature of God, dare I say, and not in a religious sense. Um, I was a little more bothered by, the idea of runaway inflation, the idea of, uh, children being allowed, all of the things that have happened to children, via this radical leftist agenda, right? But remember, the lefties are pushing it and making it attractive, especially packaging all this weirdo, deviant behavior to the youth, and some of them even mutilating their bodies, right? But what happens on the right? Now, nothing as bad as is as bad as the mutilation of the bodies. That's the worst thing I can think of. But oh, somebody done went off into floodwaters. They're doing a rescue of a vehicle that thought it could drive through high standing water, and the engine seized up. That's always an interesting phenomenon. But what the right does, the so-called right or the conservatives, they put themselves out there to a certain moral standard that they don't live up to, and then it's the repression of these, decadent and depraved, their own decadent and depraved impulses, right? And repression is bad, so that's also harmful, and it's harmful to children as well. But again, nothing as harmful as if these, once somebody gets to the age of an adult, I guess we can't really stop them from mutilating themselves. And I don't know how common it's been in, legal children, but I'm sure it's happened, right? Would have had to have happened at some point. And my truck just will not get up a hill, man. That's one thing about driving at night. You can't see the hills. So I had no idea when I pulled out to pass this guy that I was going to be going up a hill. Yeah, I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to go 65. Fuck it. We don't have to go 72 everywhere. So this is one of the big reasons I initially told them to put me in a Volvo, is because I've never driven a Volvo that has problems getting up a hill. But this motherfucker does not want to go up a hill. Yeah. So I'm mostly confused about people like Drew and EBT and others identifying, seemingly identifying with MAGA, Trump, Republicanism, and all of this, because, and I've said it before, the political motivation in America, it's always a negative motivation. It's never we believe in, now they believe some of the rhetoric, right? But, it's hard to actually go along with the actions being taken. But it's a repudiation of the other, right? It's so for the people who are more inclined to go with MAGA, it's a repudiation of the other side, Democrats, blue, right? Blue Democrats, so-called liberals. And then it's the same for liberals. It's the same for Democrats. It's not that they love their side. It's that they hate the other side, and vice versa. It's such a transparent mechanism, such a transparent mechanism. It's like I'm better than that, And then what I've noticed with folks that have children, right? People who brought Oh, and another thing I don't like about this Freightliner, it's obsessed with switching into neutral to coast for fuel economy. Another thing the Volvo doesn't do. Like that's the number one goal of the programming of this truck is how do I get into neutral? It's doing it right now. So for me, it's just a never-ending series of pressing on the fuel pedal to get it to not go into neutral. It's doing it again. Like it just never stops trying to go into neutral. And see here, we're going downhill, so hypothetically I could speed up and pass, but as soon as I try to do that, we'll be going uphill again. Because remember, I can't see the fucking hills. So, maybe we're going downhill for 5 miles. How the hell would I know? Everybody else is speeding up too because it's downhill. We'll just go slow. Fuck it. Because at the end of the day, it don't really matter, does it? You know, I want to get the load there on time because I'm that type of person. But ultimately, does it even fucking matter? This job is dead. The load is dead. The road is dead. The truck is dead. It's all dead. This is the realm of death and destruction. There was a dead car being rescued back there. Somebody drove off into the floodwaters. Seized their engine. So it's like I can go top fucking speed and go as fast as possible and then go 75 down all the hills, or I can just go 60. Like there's really nothing in between. It's funny, driving's like that a lot, driving a big rig. The way this road is and the way the trucks in front of me are. I can't really do anything in between. I got my cruise set at 66. I'm about to run right up the ass of this truck up there, but then if I try to pass him, I won't be able to pass him because then we'll be on an uphill. There's just nothing I can do about it. And I prefer not to ride side by side with other trucks for miles and miles and miles if I can help it. Fort Knox, Kansas. Am I wrong about that? Is that in Kentucky? Why did I think Kansas? Yeah, see, we're catching right up to a bunch of traffic that we're just physically unable to pass. How bizarre. The physics of the realm, I don't think, oftentimes don't seem to be quite what they're supposed to be, or what we're, led to believe they would be. All right, I'm hard headed. We're going to try to pass again. And see, all of a sudden, I'm going way faster. I was catching up to both of these trucks at 66, and now it's like I'm just barely inching up on them. But I've sped up to, now I'm going 72. It doesn't make any sense. I should just be flying right by them. I had to go 75 to pass, and now he's up my ass. But at 66, I couldn't just cruise 66 without running right up his ass. Again, makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. Because I should just, now I'm going to set the cruise at 66. I should stay ahead of it. We'll see. More evidence of the targeted individual phenomenon, is it not? I'm not declaring myself that. I'm saying I definitely see elements of the spiritual gang stalking. Yeah, I'm going 72. They're like just, now they're running up my ass. What the fuck is this? Doesn't make any sense. Just crazy. And then eventually I'll break free to the point where I'll just never see them again. It's bizarre. Completely bizarre. Surreal. And now right back to the same situation. Yeah. This is pointless. Pointless. I give up. I give up. I surrender. $369,666 is the mileage on the truck. I just looked down. 369,666 at 66 miles an hour. 37 degrees. on the dash. One thing that does seem to be the case with the recent leveling up is I have way less to say. It seems like, it's just I'm less annoyed by all of this, perhaps. But I do have a desire to sort of go out and tell other people. But the reality is, you know, there's a limited ability to explain, and then there's a limited ability for them to understand. Obviously, their own experience, their own programming, their own so-called beliefs play a part. And generally, what happens is even if I start a conversation with somebody, especially if it's about politics or religion, pretty quickly they're just going to want to express all their views, which is fine. But it's like, I already kind of know what those views are for the most part, at least within a range. Yep, switch into neutral and cruise. Truck, your only obsession. What can this truck do to switch into neutral and cruise? That's all it cares about. It'll speed to do it, by the way. I can set the cruise at 66, and what if the speed limit was 65? And if the truck decides it's able to switch into neutral and cruise, it'll do that even if I end up exceeding the speed limit with the cruise set. It don't give a fuck. And it has engine braking, so hypothetically, it could absolutely just drive itself at 66 with me steering. But no, got to cruise. Obsessed with cruising. No hitchhikers. We picked up a hitchhiker back there. Oh, he's got a headlight out. Made it a little hard to see. No hitchhikers. Now, I don't let them tailgate me on principle, but one of the major reasons is that as soon as I need to change a lane, the instant my blinker comes on, they'll pop out into the net lane next to me, and I won't be able to change lanes. Could you please get away from me there? There's really no reason to tailgate me now. You're trying to ride next to my cab. There's really no reason for any of this. What are we doing? They're probably on their phone and most likely drunk at this time of the morning. Yeah, buddy. America is dead. Just like everything else in this realm that's not Everything that's not the most super intelligent force of love possible is dead. Or more correctly, everything that's not that and everything that I'm not creating, right? For myself within my own life with my own creative force. And then, of course, we've talked about the subversion of most of the individuals in the realm, the subversion of their creative force, which never lies dormant. It's always bringing something new into existence. And that is the mechanism by which, these illusions, because if tomorrow everybody could wake up, this is also why there's no such thing as waking up. But, if everybody or the majority of individuals just said, well, to hell with the economy, to hell with the inflation, right? To hell with the government. Render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Let the dead bury the dead, and just quit paying attention to it and quit feeding into it. I believe they would discover that, well, the only reason any of this has power anyway is because enough people feed into it. And how do people feed into it? Well, in multiple ways, but certainly via the subversion of the creative force. And then the idea of loosh, right? If there are entities who feed on all of this low level, vibrational negative energies of, anxiety, fear, guilt, right? Hate, all of that. Well, wrath, really. I don't know how I can love my enemy and hate what is evil simultaneously. That doesn't really make sense. There's a bunch of truckers lined up to go deliver at that big old facility. Some gigantic facility. Get lined up at the gate. Say, let us in. They're so dedicated, they probably got here last night, late or early this morning, and went to sleep. Lined up at the gate. And it's a thankless job, truck driving, because truck driving's dead. There's another one lined up at a gate. Wow. I've been lined up at a gate waiting before. What's this? Traffic? I guess we're closer to Louisville than this is a Louisville traffic now. Yep. We in it now. Yes, sir. Traffic, man, way down compared to what it was when I started truck driving in 2018. And that must have been the big push for to get everything stocked up and to get a bunch of economic activity going, and then heading into the pandemic, right? Heading into the big shutdown. Same thing. These cars merged, had me slowed down to 60. I pulled out the pass. Now I can't get around them. I'm going 60 fucking 9 and barely passing them. 68 rather. Just bizarre, man. bizarre. How bizarre. Now one of them's going 75. Yeah. I passed both of them, and now one of them's in the fast lane going 75. You can't tell me these are actual conscious human beings. And shout out to Highly Suspect. We don't talk to him anymore, but that's what he used to say: is you'll never convince me that I'm the same thing as these other people, as these people. Like, what is that? Now he's going fucking 80. He's going 85, passing everybody on the road. So why did he get on the interstate and go 60? It just makes no fucking sense. Like, there's no accounting for a lot of it. Hell, I'm losing sight of him. So how the hell did I pass him? And now all I can see is barely see his taillights. You know. Well, some of it is just that most humans just do what the humans around them are doing at any given time. So, you know, and people slow merge. People haul ass up the on ramp, and then when they get to the merge area, they slow down for whatever reason. So now he's with another car. They've sped up the ramp. They get to the merge area. They both slow down to 60. And then because it's trucks, now all the traffic's going slow. Then I pull out and pass them, and then now one of them starts going 80 fucking 5. It's like, what is this? And then those are the people, you know, I'm led to believe. And by the way, you know, Kentucky, of course, very much a Trump country. And so these are the people who are going to pull their heads out of their asses and reform dystopia and fix the government. And it's just it's not possible. They're going to do what almost everybody else does, which is what everybody else is doing at any given time, right? Whatever that may be. Serving corporations mostly, you know. And then if I suggest to people that, well, you know, the moment that the populace quits playing into all of this at the level of the subversion of, you know, aggregate output of the creative force of the people, then that most of this nonsense would just stop same day or within a week. Well, then it's like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? You know, I got kids. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I don't know. How does anybody do anything? You know, I don't fucking know. But do you really think that your kids aren't going to eat if you don't go make a rich corporation richer? If you don't go make a rich corporation richer, that means your children starve. Does that sound logical? Does that sound possible to anybody? Or is that programming of, you know, is that system programming, you know, by the system, for the system, you know, just to further propagate the system? You know, that I think people honestly believe if they don't get out here and make rich corporations richer, that their children will starve to death. They really believe that. You know, that's dead. That's evil. That's wicked. What's more wicked than that? Here they come slow merging. Here they come slow merging. Now they want to be anointed, see? Sir, that sign says 70. Why am I running up your ass at 66? Because the pattern is you get onto the interstate and traffic passes you. Well, what if there's not enough traffic to pass you? Does that mean you go slow until traffic passes you? Thus anointing you? These people are going 50 fucking 5. Now, how I know they're not going to cruise at 55 is because I drive, and I almost never, maybe once a week, I just happen to catch up to somebody who's cruising at 55. And mathematically, I don't believe them to be that once a week person. But they could be. It's possible. It's unlikely. They're already speeding up. See, I've anointed them. Now it's okay for them to speed up. Now they're riding my tail. So why did I have to leave my lane and pass you if you're going to speed up and ride my tail? See, why is that? These people are not conscious. They can't reform dystopia. They can't make proper choices to fix things. They're not capable of it. Whatever it would take to make a better world and a proper economic system and a proper system of employment, these people don't have what it takes. They simply lack. They don't have it. They pull onto the interstate. The speed limit is 70. They go 55, and then the biggest thing on the road passes them. They speed up because they think, "Ooh, look, that gigantic thing represents safety and security," because it feels like that gigantic big rig can protect them. When in reality, one of the most dangerous things they could do is choose to ride along with a gigantic big rig on an otherwise open road, right? So what feels like safety and security is actually the opposite of safety and security. But in this inverted realm, how could it be any other way, right? Their instincts have been polluted, like their instincts have been subverted. And this is what I mean by there's no such thing as common sense. That person believes they're acting based on common sense, right? And now I'm catching up to them again. But if I kept going 70, they would just ride 10 feet off the trailer of the bumper of my trailer indefinitely. If I got up to 75, there they would be 10 feet off the bumper going 75. But now, because there's nothing for them to attach themselves to follow, now I'm going 57 and 58, and they're not pulling away from me. Right. This is the people. See, I know the people aren't shit because I watch the people. I know they're not shit at the level of what? At the level of their own conscious awareness, at the level of their ability to think and reason and problem solve, right? Like they don't have it. And it's too late in the game to develop it, right? And you can explain to them till you're blue in the face that, well, actually you exhibit zero ability for critical thinking and to figure things the fuck out for yourself. They don't believe you, right? Because they've got a smartphone, they may have a college degree, they believe themselves to be intelligent. Like, well, yeah, how can one be intelligent and lack the ability to exhibit intelligence? Right. It's like, how did this truck just blast by me? And then now I'm having to slow down to 59 to not run up their ass. See? Like, what is this? What is this? It's not real, is what it is. Death and destruction are not real. So how could any of this be real? This is the valley of the shadow of death. It's unreal. And then because I've recently leveled up, of course, the realm is going to seek to attack me, in things that historically would annoy the fuck out of me, right? So, things that happen on the road, that maybe don't happen that often. 100 of those things have already happened, and I haven't even driven an hour yet, right? And 100 of those things have happened. I've driven 45 minutes. See? That's another way I know the nature of the realm. It's showing itself for what it is in this moment. And those same people that I referred to that are unable to think and reason for themselves and problem solve, they can always tell me all the reasons why what I'm saying is not valid. Just like my second wife, who is not intelligent in the ways I'm intelligent, if it suited her, could always immediately tell me in the moment why what I was saying was wrong or did not apply. And eventually I realized, well, wait a minute, she's never heard or thought about the words coming out of my mouth, but so how can she instantaneously tell me why it's not valid, right? That power of dismissal or the ability to debunk something, right, out of convenience or a delusion, right, a suppression. And I finally just started telling her, like, I would get done saying something, I would say, now tell me how I'm wrong. Now, go ahead and tell me how I'm wrong. And just look at her. Because I know that's what you're going to do. I know you're about to tell me how everything I just said doesn't apply. So let's hear it. Let's hear it. Because you're way more intelligent than me. Because I'm the one who came up with everything I just said to you. And you're the one who's so fucking smart that you immediately know why none of it applies. So let's hear it. So I already know that what she's about to say can't possibly apply. Because she wasn't intelligent enough to instantaneously figure out the flaws in my assertions. Damn, dude, this is fucked. 41 miles an hour. 41 fucking miles an hour. Yeah, this is highly unusual. Highly unusual what's going on, especially based on the amount of traffic. There's really not that many cars out here. The fact that it's been slow down after slow down after slow down after slow down is it's fucking weird. Good thing I left early, huh? Good thing I left early. And by the way, that's a truck who hauled ass and passed me. It's just slowed me down to 41. Wow. Unprecedented. Almost unprecedented. But I'm probably here talking to myself because the stream hates when I complain about traffic. When I complain, 38 miles an hour running up the ass of them, running up their ass, a four-wheeler and a truck. Bro, this is crazy. This is completely fucking crazy. I've never seen this ever with this amount of traffic. This is unprecedented at this point. Never. This is a 5 o'clock rush hour speeds at 4:25 a.m. And then just completely, I look in the mirror, it's completely normal traffic. People are hauling ass in and out of lanes, passing each other. This is fucking nuts, dude. You can't tell me this isn't all targeted at me. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, ha ha ha. How could it be targeted at you? What do you mean? How could it be targeted at me? Are you telling me it's impossible? And now he's back to going 60 fucking 5. Yeah. It's crazy, man. Just complete fucking insanity. It's not real, man. It's not real. It is not real. It exists. It's unreal. So not real is really not it's unreal. Unreal. It's unreal. It's surreal. Now, Snyder, my first company with their slow ass trucks, helped me develop the ability to go slow as fuck for hours and hours and hours. So I'll just go slow. Fuck it. Who cares? I'm still going to get there. This is insane. And then the realm will always gaslight, and it'll be like, oh, well, he thinks this and he thinks that. No, I'm observing it and drawing conclusions. I'm telling you what's happening. Right now, one is free to. One could just believe, well, he's delusional. He's imagining all of this, right? But I'm pretty sure the audience believes that I'm driving a big rig right now. And if most of these folks are demonized, why couldn't the demonic forces influence their behavior when they're near me, right? And I just, within the last few days, came to this understanding of the nature of, all of these things I've been talking about on the recent streams. Like, why isn't that all? Why is that impossible? Right? Because it's Benton, I guess.
Reduce speed. Reduce speed.
Reduce your cunt hairs, bitch.
Reduce speed. Reduce speed. Reduce speed.
Excuse me.
Reduce speed. Reduce speed.
That's right. Razvan says you don't make a corporation rich, and something about if you don't make a corporation rich,
Reduce speed.
your wife will take your kids and leave you. Believe that. Yeah, that's true. And that's very true. Watch for ice. Yep. Temperatures are dropping.
Reduce speed.
34 degrees. I got the message on the screen telling me to watch for ice.
Reduce speed. Reduce speed.
Well, Razvan, I guess if that's the case, then she's not my wife, right? Because if the man is the head and all of these things, then how can she leave without my permission?
Reduce speed. Reduce speed.
All right, you win, bitch. You win this time.
Reduce speed.
Doing that now. How long will Benton last on this job? That's the question. I was looking on Craigslist just out of curiosity, as I do, and I found an interesting job on Dallas Craigslist, but I can't live in the truck. But I found it's a dropping hook starting at like 2 a.m. in the morning, and they want part-time drivers like 2 to 4 days a week. Although that would end up it would end up being 4, I'm almost certain. And you have to work the weekends, which I don't care. That's fine. But trucks got to stay at the yard. They said. I don't know. Sleep in my car and do that? Nah, you can't really sleep. That's not possible really in Dallas because of the weather. It's going to be too hot. Very, very quickly, it'll be too hot to sleep in one's car. And I guess if I found a room to rent, I'd make just enough money to feed myself and buy whatever little bit of stuff I need and pay for the room. It's probably not worth it to only have 3 days off a week. The long haul makes a lot more sense because I'm living at my workplace. No commute, no housing costs. Spiritual attack failed, by the way. Now it's over. The traffic. Now we still have the same amount of traffic, but it's no longer spiritually attacking me like it was. I'm able to just drive normally all of a sudden. Hang on, better rinse my mouth out, take care of my teeth. I would say the days of a man just kind of by default having a wife, I think that shit's over. I really do. That's a man having a wife, that's for rich folks. And men who are doing the system's bidding, men serving death and destruction well enough to have a certain level of income that people refer to as middle class. And this also shows how people's brains are so polluted that there's this, if y'all know that Caleb Hammer channel, there's this guy, I think he's from, French Canadian, I believe. He sounds like it. And Roman something or other. And his channel, he's been talking about, he did a video recently just sort of talking about his life and, his fiance leaving him and all of this. And then he kept trying to refer to himself as middle class, but then, which doesn't exist, by the way. But then he's also talking about how a lot of the problems with his fiance were financial, and he was making more money than her. But then he's also saying, so he's talking out of both sides of his mouth because he's talking about being middle class, but then he's saying I'm middle class, but then he's saying, today, requires dual income to make it, right? But it's like, well, wait a minute. Historically, middle class was not dual income. My father was what was referred to as middle class, which in my mind does not exist. And I can, I have arguments to back that up. But my mother didn't work. She worked in the family business to some extent, but my mom didn't have a job. We were middle class. Why would my mom have a job if we're middle class? See? So, how can both things be true? This idea of, well, I'm middle class. No, you have he makes an income. He was working at Amazon making like $200,000 a year. He has an income because the system propagates the idea that there is such a thing as people who are so-called middle class, that his salary is within that range. But he disproves his own concept when he says, he's trying to tell his old lady, his fiance, well, but in order to make it nowadays requires dual income. Now, what he means by make it is to be able to save, to invest, right? To pay the rent or pay the mortgage, to pay the vehicles, and simultaneously invest and save for retirement and have an emergency fund to do all this Dave Ramsey, Caleb Hammer type of financial stuff, right? And he's even acknowledging that, without saying it directly, that he's not able to do all of that as a job. Well, guess what, Roman? My dad did all of that in the 80s as a middle class small business person, and he did all of those things without my mother having a job, right? And if you think these women, like whoever would get engaged to that bozo, he's probably over 6 feet tall, right? Now, he's not all muscled up, but it's this idea of six-figure job, over 6 feet tall, and six-pack abs. Well, he's fit. Maybe he does have a six-pack. I have no idea. He's fit, right? He's got a six-figure income, which even that isn't enough anymore. I'd say it probably is a minimum of about 200,000. And he's over 6 feet tall, but he's a goofy. He doesn't speak English properly. He's got a bizarre accent, which that's why his channel's failing, by the way. He's been going through this existential crisis. He claims to have spent like $100,000 on a year of YouTube making all this content, and says that he lost 60 G's in 1 year doing YouTube, which I believe it, because he's that kind of bozo. But like, what's the point of a woman dealing with the ick, right? Dealing with some weirdo from French Canada in America, to get a guy over 6 feet tall who's fit and makes six figures if she's got to work too? What's the fucking point of that? If she's going to work a job, she might as well, find Chad, try to get Chad to wife her up, right? Now, she's still probably banging Chad on the side, but can you blame her? Can you blame her? I can't. I'm not saying it's right, but it's like, yeah, I understand. I get it. But and then what's funny is when he's telling all of this, and this is how I can tell that males nowadays, it's the normalization of all this red-pilled content, the manosphere, all of these ideas that I was learning about and studying in 2010, actually even before that, on the heels of my first divorce, when I began studying a lot of the so-called pickup artist material. I was way ahead of the curve back then. And it's funny how Drew's talked about that I'm just way ahead of my time. It causes a lot of problems for me. And he didn't talk about it in those terms, but that was, sort of what I extrapolated. Last time I talked to him on the panel, he was like, yeah, well, you're ahead of your time. And it's true. And it does I allow it to cause me, problems, but because I saw the foolishness in that. I learned all of those tactics and so-called rules. Well, one thing about learning all the rules is, once a person learns all the rules, now they're free to break the rules, right? In a way, the rules no longer apply. Once a person masters all of that, but now the normalization for the males of all of this red pill manosphere stuff. So he's saying it like he's advising the audience. But what I've realized is, because as he's saying these things around, relationships and women, I'm hearing him say this and I'm thinking, well, how can you, but he's saying as if he's giving advice. And I'm like, well, how can you advise me on something you aren't even able to do, sir? Like, she left you, He said he came home. He said he came home and she was, basically left him one day. And he says he had no idea it was coming, and that's what happened to me with my first wife. And in fact, she still tried to get me back when she saw that I actually just was going to just move on and find another broad. She tried to get me back actually within like a month, but that's not even the point. I also didn't see it coming. Like I was also devastated. But then he's simultaneously going to give me advice. It's like, no, wait a minute. That's when I went out and learned all of this MGTOW, which MGTOW did not exist yet. But, I learned, the forerunner of all of what's going on now with the guys, trying to learn how to deal with these broads. And, but then got in a relationship with my second wife who absolutely never would have left me. If I had been capable of keeping up my end of the bargain, we would have been together. She never would have left me. I'm 100% certain of that. And, I would have had to remain that same person she married, though. And, my path is progress, and, I'm not able to do that. And, the evolved me, I guess, wasn't doing it for her. I don't know. I know exactly what happened. There's more to it than that. But now he's going to advise me. And then his channel's about, doing the Caleb Hammer style financial audits. And then pretty soon he's admitting to his own financial failures. And that's America now is, go become a coach, right? Go do life coaching, go become a coach, go teach people how to do things that the being hasn't even demonstrated an ability to do for themselves in their own life. Well, I demonstrated an ability to have a long-term relationship with a, attractive woman that I got along with, right? Indefinitely. This bozo hasn't even gotten to that point, but he's going to tell me about it. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Well, what is that? Fake it till you make it. And, because he has an Ivy League education and, has an ability to earn a $200,000+ salary, right? You know, he has to have these abilities, right? Surely the mastery of something like, being able to, be in a relationship with a woman. Of course, that's child's play to a Ivy League scholar who, was making 250 G's a year or whatever, working for Amazon. But doing what, Razvan? Making the corporation rich. Making the corporation rich. And then by his own admission, it made him miserable. He talked about waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning having panic attacks. He talked about how, one of the founders of the company was in his group or whatever, and or at least came around regularly. And, the guy was probably making 50 million a year or whatever, and just was absolutely miserable, and then Roman seeing the writing on the wall that, is it worth it to, climb the ladder of this corporation to eventually get to a even higher salary just to be fucking miserable. Again, that's death. That's death and destruction. Seeking the riches of this realm. What does that lead a person to? It leads them to abject misery. I don't believe anybody who climbs the corporate ladder and achieves corporate success and a high income who wasn't born into riches. I don't believe any of them becomes anything other than depressed, anxious, all of these negative things. In fact, here's the Huxley Brave New World side of things. We have a pill for that, right? Take your soma. Take your soma and serve the corporation. It's like, no, I will not take my soma. I refuse to be on any kind of medication. So then it's like, because I won't take the anxiety medication, because I won't take the antidepressants, I'm really not able to go out and serve a corporation. Now, at times, I've been able to work as a truck driver. Now, I was able to do it long enough on my first job to get the experience, 14 months. And then my second company, as I crash into gigantic potholes on the collapsing, crumbling infrastructure of America, by the way, just gigantic potholes. And, I made it about 10 months with my second company because I loved what I just loved what they had me doing. And then here come the fake pandemic. And that's the only reason I quit that job was the pandemic had me. I dealt with it as long as I could, you know. Here we go. I got to go 75 to pass this truck that I was going 60 fucking 3 and right up his ass. Now I got to go 70 fucking 5 to get around him. It's still happening, you know. I had the cruise set at 66 because it was 65. Now it went up to 70. Yeah, it's just, what is this, man? It's sheer insanity is what it is. To be a human, to be a human and on a daily basis to interact with this realm as if this realm is exactly what it claims to be, that is lunacy. That is sheer lunacy, right? And that's where, realistically, in a thought experiment, the brother Austin, that's really where he and I have diverged. And it's back to a point I've made earlier about people like EBT, Drew World Order, Yurt. These are all people with children, right? So I would say by the very nature of raising children, which I don't know anything about not having raising children, but it seems to me logically it makes sense that if one is raising children in this, that they are incentivized to interface with the realm on a daily basis as if it is something more akin to what it purports to be, right? Because how is one to raise their children while simultaneously teaching their children, well, actually, this realm is not what it claims to be? Now, can some of those ideas be introduced? Sure. But, how are the children, going to get along socially, right? And if the children are in the public schools, some of them are being homeschooled. Some of them are most likely in the public school system or maybe even private school. But, how are they going to fit in? How are they going to get along with their, peers? And they're being taught, the true nature of the realm, right? So to me, it seems like, to willfully delude oneself on purpose, right? That's what it seems like to me. It's people who are willfully deluding themselves for their own purpose, and I can't blame them. I would probably be just like them, in their situation, in their place, which is, what a blessing. And again, it's all blessings, but what a blessing for it not to be in my path to, father and raise children, right? And based on my knowing, I don't want to be responsible for bringing, new souls into this realm. But then again, if the essence of the new life is, the highest level of, the highest, what do I call it? See, I already forgot what I call it. The most super intelligent force of love possible, right? How could that not be a wonderful thing? Well, it's like, yeah, but to be more specific, to encase to it, to in this dual realm, to seemingly capture the most a portion of the most super intelligent force of love possible. So this realm is delusion. To exist in this duality of this realm, that's a delusion. So can I blame Yurt or Drew or EBT for existing moment to moment, more in the realm of delusion, right? When that is the nature of this experience at some level, and I myself was existing, more in a way as they are, right? And then when I do fully, I'm seemingly on the verge of just letting it all go, let the job go, let the money go, let the and some of it is my own. Some of the not letting go is my own preference for certain foods, certain nutritional supplements, certain types of clothing, right? When I know I'm going to be fed, but it won't necessarily be the food I'm choosing, right? You know, I know I'll have clothes to wear, won't necessarily be the clothing of my choosing, right? I know I'll have somewhere to lay my head at night, won't necessarily be the place to lay my head of my choosing. See, I'm still sort of imposing my own preferences and my own, uh, my own death and destruction. My own flavors of, you know, uh, the parts of my being that are not directly identified with the most super intelligent force of love possible. I'm still allowing some of that to dictate, uh, as if I can dictate to this realm, you know, which I am able to, but not without a cost, right? No lunches are free. I am able to do that, but not without accept. We're unable to separate the bad from the good. I'm not able to do that without accepting things that I would prefer not to accept, right? Thank you, Bex, who says great observation. I don't know when you wrote that, but thank you. Much appreciated. So again, if the essence of the being is one with the most super intelligent force of love possible, is it a good thing to commit a physical act that I've committed many times in the past and that could potentially cause, a consciousness, right? Consciousness to incarnate into this physical realm of suffering, of death, of destruction, of decay, of evil, of seemingly all flavors. See, based on what I know, I would say no, that's not a good thing, right? Because again, if this is a spiritual war, and I'm certain that it is, but to me, it's a proving ground. It's the affirmation that the antithesis of the most super intelligent force of love possible can never ever defeat the most super intelligent force of love possible, because the most super intelligent force of love possible can never experience defeat. So the most super intelligent force of love possible is not capable of fearing a return to this realm. So ultimately, if my essence is what I'm purporting it to be, when my essence leaves this place, my essence is not capable of fearing a return to this place, because my essence can never be corrupted by this place. See? Because if my essence can be corrupted by this place, it never was the most super intelligent force of love possible. Do you see how simple this is? Right? And how did I come to these conclusions? Now, I reached these conclusions by various spiritual practices, by exhibiting some level of mastery over my own physicality, right? Over death, in a way. Uh, I've certainly, I'm certainly exhibiting a victory over at least certain aspects of physical death within the last several years. I believe that to be the case. Uh, I can't necessarily convince another person of that, but that's been my experience. But ultimately, here's how I've reached these conclusions, is through the brutal application of logic. Everything I'm speaking is all brutal logic without concern for how I might feel about the brutal logic, without concern or regard for how anyone else might feel about the brutal logic. It's merely, I shouldn't say merely, but it's a 29 miles to the fuel stop, by the way. I do have to make sure I don't miss this fuel stop. Uh, And what I would say is very few humans are ever able to exhibit the ability to brutally apply logic to themselves within their own energy sphere and then to their own experiences and to their own observations of the nature of the realm and reality as it unfolds in the moment in the way that I have. It's rare. And that's why if people that come to the Benton channel regularly hear me say things that I've never heard anybody say anywhere, right? Which is what? That's novelty. Now, any somebody can hear me say things, and that does not represent knowledge that a person is able to capture and then hold close to themselves and then absorb by osmosis. You know, they themselves would then necessarily have to do the work unless some sort of divine intervention were to occur, right? Accepting the ability of the most super intelligent force of love possible to intervene. You know, it's up to the individual being to progress within themselves, you know, inside their sphere of influence, which is, as far as I can tell, the only power that any individual even has is within themselves, right? And then the free will part of it comes in. The free will is, you know, that they are free to not do any of that, right? Just as I'm free to do all of this work over a period of nearly 20 years to get to this point, I'm free to undo it all by just going right back where I started if I want to, right? And even this progress is merely a return to the state I was born into this realm in. I incarnated into this realm spiritually perfect, as far as I can tell. So even all of this 20 years of progress is seeking to return to the state in which I began. Again, one with the most super intelligent force of love possible, right? So there's nothing to fear here. There's nothing for me to fear here, right? And, you know, so what I'm talking about within the last few days is I'm experiencing a level of peace over a period of days that I've probably never experienced, or if I have in the past, it was, you know, not that often, right? And it's not based on anything I'm experiencing in the external. It's based on coming to a greater understanding of myself and the realm and the nature of things within myself by working with the energies within myself. That's all it is. And anybody can do it, I'm almost certain. But few will, right? And few are able to do it without joining a team, right? And joining a movement and following, right? But when one connects to themselves, within their own sphere of influence, what is there to follow, right? Well, if one's nature is the most super intelligent force of love possible, it's to connect with that force within oneself. Again, the kingdom of God is within me. The most super intelligent force of love possible is within me, as is the ability to not be connected with that force, the ability to be in delusion. And what is delusion? Delusion is the idea that that's not my nature. Delusion is to choose to allow myself to be disconnected from that. So that's the surrender, Yurt. The surrender is a surrender to my true nature. It's not a surrender to anything outside of myself. It's surrendering to the reality of exactly what I am. That's the surrender. And I believe Yurt's resistance. See, I wasn't resistant to a surrender. I just didn't fully comprehend what it was I was to surrender to. And what is surrender? The surrender is a getting out of one's own way. The surrender is merely a discontinuing of the process of allowing one's creative force, which never lies dormant, to be subverted. What has it been subverted into? It's been subverted into creating seemingly limitless and unlimited layers of delusion that the being then lives within. So the surrender is is to just say, okay, let's just stop making that delusion. See, that's not an active thing. Now, the delusion is created actively, but to discontinue the creation of the delusion, that's a passive. That's the yin energy. That's a passive energy. Just stop doing the thing, right? Knock it the fuck off. Knock it the fuck off. And people resist that for their own purposes. They resist that surrender because of what the Bible and religion would refer to as the desires of the flesh, right? Enjoying oneself through their own senses, you know. Also, people's psychological programming and the realm itself being expert in playing on humans' tendencies to what? Be accepted by the people around them, you know, in order to be accepted, get in where you fit in, right? To do all of these things that are expected, you know. And then further, when attempting to raise children and guide a family, that all happens within this worldly context. You know, the concept of this, and you know, being responsible for teaching children how to cope with this realm. See, and everything that is not motivated from a connection to source within myself, sort of anything that's not exactly that is a cope. Anything. That's how it works here. Don't kill the messenger. Don't kill the messenger. Right. 20 miles to the fuel stop. No hitchhikers. I see you back there trying to hitchhike. No hitchhikers. Preferentially following a big rig. Put the blinders on. We'll just put this 13 and a half foot tall vehicle directly in front of our vehicle so we can look at our screen. That's Americans hurtling down the interstate looking for an opportunity to put on the blinders so they can go back into the internet, so they can return their consciousness where it belongs, cyberspace, Ready Player One style. You can call it a matrix all you want. These motherfuckers are in a big fat hurry to go as deeply into that matrix as possible. That's why Skynet already exists. Skynet has existed for a long time. That's why Skynet exists. Because people want Skynet. People want their consciousness to go into Skynet. To the further depths of delusion, to escape what? To escape the realities of this realm of death and destruction. What better motivation? What better motivation for choosing to go into Ready Player One? And this is Ready Player One. You know, the human consciousness is not yet able to occupy the physical space and the cyberspace. What is Ready Player One? Ready Player One is to project one's consciousness into cyberspace. That's what it is. While the physical body is somewhere else, right? Just like when we're dreaming, we're in another realm, no longer aware of our physical bodies, at least temporarily, right? What I'm here to tell you is that people prefer to project into other realms because, at least temporarily, they're not experiencing, right, this realm of death and destruction, the physical realm of death and destruction, and they're not having to utilize their powers of creation to perpetually create the delusion that they're not in fact existing in a physical realm of death and destruction. This realm is death. That's what this place is. This place is the grave, right? That's why this heaven or hell realm presently manifesting as a hell realm, that's why it is that. It is that because the beings do not. Wow, this is crazy. If I wish y'all could see what's happening. This is fucking nuts, dude. The way these vehicles are operating in front of me. This is complete insanity. Wow. I almost can't believe what I'm seeing is happening. But it is. And that's what this life is. You know, it's a being, you know, who has this power of creation, and then that power of creation being subverted into the perpetual creation of delusion as we attempt to dodge gigantic potholes, by the way, in real time. Dude, this is just insane. Fucking insane. I just can't believe it. Site of fatal bus crash, 1988. So the cope is the creation of the delusion. That's what the cope is. So the being prefers Ready Player One. The being prefers the Matrix. The being prefers Skynet because it's a way to sidestep the repression. And the repression is always harmful to the individual. Right. You know, because once the being is in the tank from the Matrix and their reality fully becomes, you know, the world of the Matrix, you know, if that experience, now in the movie, you know, Neo was certainly experiencing struggle, strife, and all of this stuff in a dystopia. But right, if a person can go into a virtual world like in Ready Player One, where it's a video game and it's enjoyable, right? Well, that circumvents the being's need to exist in, you know, the delusion, right? The delusion is created. The game itself is creating the delusion, right? It's like a replacement. It's a proxy, right? So thus the being can relax and you know, sort of just, you know, relax into the comfort of not having to make their own delusion because they're not in the physical world. You know, their consciousness is no longer in the physical world. The traffic spiritually attacking me is back, by the way. I must really be onto something. I must really be onto something here. So the fact is, you know, the economic system is going to do what the economic system is doing. And We as humans are not meant to fix that or take control of it or, steer it to our purposes, because our purposes are based on what? Individually, our purposes individually are based on our preferences. So that's where you see folks, identifying with these memes of the so-called right wing of the traditional family values, because that's their preference of their flesh. See? And it's this idea that if the preferences of their flesh could join with the preferences of like-minded other people and those preferences, that they could then seize control of dystopia and bend it to their preference, right? Which would still be a nightmare. It would still be death. That would still represent death and destruction. That's what that would still be. See? And no matter how slow I drive, I cannot keep from running up the ass of this truck that passed me when I was going 69. It doesn't matter how slow I go. I'm setting the cruise at 60. I'm still running right up their ass. Right. Like, how is this possible? It's mathematically impossible. It's because I'm being spiritually gang stalked and attacked by the realm itself. The realm itself doesn't believe until I prove it that I am what I claim to be. Oh, you claim to have reached these levels of understanding? Well, that means that you're not going to be bothered by these traffic patterns. So here, have 3 straight hours of these traffic patterns for no logical reason at when there's no traffic on the roads, right? How did a truck pass me when I was going 60 miles an hour up a hill, and now I'm going 54 up a hill and I'm catching up to them? This is not mathematically possible. That's the realm spiritually attacking me. Of course, it's spiritually attacking me. It does not believe that I am what I say I am. It doesn't believe me. But the realm itself sent that truck to come past me to now do what's being done in front of me. That's the only explanation for this. There is no other explanation. That is what's happening. I'm watching it happen. As we go 44 with our flashers on, and they're just right there in front of us. They're just right there in front of us. Now I'm going to cancel the cruise, and I'm just going to stay at 44. And let's see if they pull it, because we're going downhill. Let's see if they begin to pull away from us, or do they just stay right in front of us downhill at 44 miles an hour? See. Now they're beginning to pull away a little bit, because at a certain point, what's happening does begin to strain credulity, meaning it does at least need to be real enough to, right. It has to at least be real on some level enough to, or people might actually come out of their slumber more than what they're intended to, right? And now he's far enough away. He's broken free. I've broken free from that. But now starting to catch up again. 55 downhill, starting to catch up again. See, again, this is mathematically impossible. The laws of physics dictate that what I'm observing is not possible. Like, literally impossible. And then what will humans do? Humans will tell me all the reasons why, well, in fact, it is real. In fact, of course it makes sense, because they are deluding themselves into identifying with this place of death and destruction. To be identified with the realness of this place is to identify with death and destruction. It's to be identified with death. Hence, all they that hate the most super intelligent force of love possible love death, or more correctly, have aligned themselves with death. See how the scripture actually makes sense there when looked at properly, when examined properly. And now we're hill climbing and we're catching back up to them. And I'm the slowest truck going up these hills, but there they are. I'm catching up to them. See, that's a demonized person, and the realm is using them to attack. That's just all this is. That's what I mean when I talk about targeted, spiritually fucking attacked, right? That's what is happening. Otherwise, it would have been physically fucking impossible for them to pass me. Would not have been possible. What up, 5 Speed? Yeah, May 1988. There you go. Yeah, somewhere in Kentucky. I haven't been paying attention to the town names. Yeah, yeah. It was such a bad crash that they've commemorated it with signs on both sides, both directions of the interstate. So, part of my practice now is observing the realm attacking me and just realizing, well, if I am what I say I am, then I have the ability to persist, through this. And in those moments when I do allow myself to, vent my frustration or, sort of just give myself over to my lower nature, then that's the realm temporarily winning that battle, right? Or that is the realm winning that battle within the war, within the spiritual war. That's what that is. And I'm winning so far. So far today, I'm winning, right? This is success, by the way. This is success. Success is not having a job and earning a paycheck. That's death. That's dead. Render unto Caesar. See, that's dead. And at this point, I would say I'm only really continuing this job because I might as well make a few more paychecks. Because, I don't know about this company, but some companies will try to find out a valid reason to keep that last paycheck. So, you know, uh, that would be my next one, right? So I might be willing to sacrifice a paycheck, which they might still give it to me eventually. Who knows? But, or they might just still pay me. But if I'm going to Arkansas anyway next month, that might be a time to take enough home time to where the pay period will catch up. And then maybe I just won't go back, right? Because going back is dead. You know, I'm wherever I go, I'm the most super intelligent force of love possible, right? Wherever I go, wherever I physically go within the realm, if that's what I am, if that's my true essence and nature, we've caught back up to him. We've caught back up to that same truck. Can you believe this? I believe it. But we're about to take this exit. Caught right up to him. That same truck. It's rare to find a truck driving this slow, especially after it just passed me. This is rare to because we're going down. We're going slow downhill. We're going down a hill slow. If y'all can hear that engine braking, that's all. All of that is to not run up his ass. I wouldn't be using the engine brake otherwise. 54 miles an hour at the bottom of the hill. 53 miles an hour at the bottom of the hill. 52. Wow. It's just it's surreal. It's absolutely surreal. Now watch them take this exit. That'll be the interesting part if they exit to the same truck stop. I bet they've been driving all night. Now that might account for some of what I'm seeing, you know, possibly, but not all of it. But yeah, some of it. Nope, he's going straight. All right. Happy to get away from that boat, though. Good Lord. Crazy, man. All right. I'll be on break for a bit and then I'll be back. So once I get stopped up here, I'll put the banner up. Uh-oh. Oh, I got almost all the fuel islands taken, I can already see. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. I know this truck stopped. Yeah, I remember this one. Well, yeah, I stopped here not that long ago, actually. Yeah, on my way down. On my last trip, but out of this area, I stopped here and got fuel. Pulling into the Loves. I think all the fuel's taken up. Oh, you got to go all the way around, too. Yeah. Yep. I figured I'd be getting here when everybody's fueling, but that's just part of it. That's just part of it. Oh well, takes however long it takes. No sense in sweating it. Now, the annoying part is some of these drivers are in there fucking around in the truck stop, taking showers and on their breaks and doing God knows what. Yeah, hang on, we got to go on duty. On duty. Oh, wait a minute. That truck in front of me, he left the lane open unless that was out of order. Huh. It almost feels like a trap, but you know, unless he thought he couldn't get up in there with his trailer. Shit, spoke too soon. Of course, some of these people just will not go to the ones that are, they're so lazy they just will not use the ones farther away from the store. They don't want to walk that far. Pardon me. Pardon me. All right. BRB. I'll be back in a bit. Let me put the banner up. Uh, yeah. All right, we back. We back. We back. We back. Yeah, right when I was leaving the store, man, this guy coming the other way towards me had this horrible look on his face. I turned and looked, and he was ready. Turned around, was right behind me. Turned, changed directions. I took off running. So I don't want this. I don't want this fool anywhere near me. Get this dude away from me. Spilled my coffee a little bit. I got decaf that time. All right, back on the road. Let's go. Rolling out of the truck. Stop. Let's get on out of here. People got you can't two trucks can get through here at the same time because these bozos are blocking part of the road, making their own parking spot. So I honked the air horn, wake them up. They shouldn't park there. Those aren't parking spaces. We got off tracking to deal with these big rigs, meaning the trailer tires don't follow the same line as the tractor tires. Off tracking. Hey, light screen. All right. Now it's turning red, but I stopped on yellows, but we were already far enough away, far enough in that we had to keep going. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. They were actually playing decent music in there for a change instead of that bullshit what passes for country music storytelling. It's prose sang, not the structure of a song, certainly. Hate that shit. I don't like it. I'm against it. I shouldn't say I hate it. I don't feel that strongly. It's not my favorite. How about that? Well, we're fueled up on the road again. $31 degrees. Is it April and 31 degrees? Damn. Damn. All trucks use left lane. Okay. We're in a construction zone. Kentucky Speedway, exit 57. Oh, shit. getting hungry. Oh, I forgot I had these apricots. Apricots. Is this the end of the construction zone? I believe it is. Yep. Things don't burn on the bridge. Got to get up that hill. Cannot climb a hill, man. This truck just will not climb a hill. It just won't do it. Now it's upshifting. Why are you upshifting? There's no reason to. I'm just going to make you shift down again. Got to get up that. Bam! Gigantic pothole. Gigantic pothole. I caught every bit of it too.
Reduce speed. Please reduce speed.
More potholes, but I see them coming. It's another disadvantage of driving when it's dark. I can't see the potholes most of the time.
Reduce speed. Reduce speed.
Apologies for not talking. We're driving a little bit now. We driving a little bit now. Yeah, past his truck, but I think it's going to catch us on this uphill. My truck won't climb. Come on around, buddy, if you can do it. Might be empty. Shout out to the chat. Let's see, we're going to get there at 8:41, it says. So just set the cruise and whatever happens, happens. No sense in trying to pass anybody. Well, I might get out of here. I appreciate y'all riding along. I think I'll probably be back later. Bye.